Hey everybody, it's Ron from Pick Dawgz. This is Ron's Rundown. We're going to go over the MLB games scheduled for Wednesday, May 1st, 2024. And if you like what you see, make sure to give this video a big thumbs up and subscribe to our channel. Don't forget to put your baseball picks in the comment section below. And if you're looking for my best bets, including my daily rundown best bet in the MLB, you can find those at the premium picks tab at pickdawgz.com. There's also a link in the description. Alrighty, let's start the new month strong. Here are the games in Major League Baseball. First up, we see the St. Louis Cardinals taking on the Detroit Tigers. Miles Mikolas and Kenta Maeda are the projected starters. Two veterans that are off to slow starts to the 2024 campaign. This is not my favorite game on the board. It's tough to have a lot of faith in either of these lineups or these starting pitchers. Maeda, he's coming off one of his best starts of the year. It was 5 innings, a shutout ball, 5 strikeouts, no walks. While Mikolas, his last 2 games, giving up 4 home runs, a lot of sharp contact, a lot of base hits. He's given up 6 or more base hits in 4 of his last 5 games. And it's tough to have a lot of faith in this game. Maeda, we know he struggled in spring training, wasn't great to start the season, but I think he is in better form overall in going into this game. So I'm going to lean towards the Detroit Tigers in this one on the money line, but like I said, not a game I'm rushing to the window for. Next up, we see the Tampa Bay Rays taking on the Milwaukee Brewers. Zach Eflin and Colin Ray are your starters. We mentioned the regression concerns with Colin Ray's game. We saw him give up 5 earned runs and 3 home runs against the Yankees in that last start. And while the Rays are not the Yankees in terms of their offensive success against righties, I still think Tampa Bay gets to Ray early in this one. And, Zach Eflin, he's been inconsistent this year. We've seen some great outings. We've seen some not so great outings. Against the White Sox, his last one, 4 earned runs in 6 innings. But he is somebody that usually gives the Rays 6 innings or more. And, the Brewers were a team at the start of the season red hot against right-handed pitching. They've cooled off a bit in the last week, 2 weeks. So I think Eflin pitches pretty well. I think he bounces back in this game. I think he misses some bats, earns some strikeouts. I'm going to go with the Tampa Bay Rays on the money line in this one. Next up, we see the Minnesota Twins taking on the Chicago White Sox. Bailey Ober and Chris Flexen are the starters. There's no doubting that the White Sox have been a lot more competitive in the last week or so, offensively, even pitching-wise, than they were at the beginning of the season. This team was, we saw through the first 30 games or so, I believe they had, shutout. They were shut out over 30% of those games in the first 30. So it was ugly. We're starting to see them compete a lot more, get on base, score some more runs, but I still don't think it's enough in a game like this. Chris Flexen pitched well in that last game against Tampa Bay, but he's still not my favorite starter to back. He's got about a 50-50 walk-to-strikeout ratio, which is not what you want to see. Only 13 Ks in 24 2/3 innings. The Twins have really improved offensively in the last 2 weeks, similar to the White Sox, but even more so. And Bailey Ober's also improved quite a bit since his really bad start to the season. We saw him struggle in spring. We saw him give up those 8 earned runs against the Royals on opening day, or for his first start of the season. And then since then, he's given up 2 earned runs or fewer in all 4 of his games. Good strikeout numbers. I got to go with the Minnesota Twins here and lay the 1.5 runs. Next up, we see the Kansas City Royals taking on the Toronto Blue Jays. Seth Lugo and Chris Bassett are your projected starters. Seth Lugo, really impressive outing his last game against the Tigers. Now, I know that's one of the weaker lineups in baseball against righties, but, Lugo before that game had struggled against the Orioles, giving up 9 base hits and 4 earned runs with 2 home runs, only 1 strikeout, but he bounces back with 9 strikeouts in 7 innings against Detroit. He has been a quality start machine this year and last year, honestly, when he was with the Padres. So, I think he pitches pretty well, but I also, Chris Bassett on the other side, I'm a little bit worried about his game right now. We know him as somebody that's pitched better at home throughout his career, at least recent years. He pitched a lot better at Rogers Center last year, but still, that last game against the Dodgers at home, it was 2 2/3, 7 earned runs, 9 base hits, 2 home runs. The Royals might not be the Dodgers, but they've got some pretty good numbers against right-handed pitching this season. And even the first game of this series where, Bolin just didn't have it for Kansas City on the mound, the Royals never gave up offensively in that game. They chipped away, had a chance with, corners 2 outs in the top of the 9th inning to potentially tie or take the lead. And I think this is going to be a competitive, high-scoring game. I think the Blue Jays find a few runs on Lugo. I think the Royals do some damage on Bassett. I like the Royals to win this game, and I like the over in this one. Next up, we see the Pittsburgh Pirates taking on the Oakland Athletics. Quinn Priester and Ross Stripling are your starters. Ross Stripling is personally 0-5 this season, but the A's found a W the first time this season, a W in a Ross Stripling game against the Baltimore Orioles. 5 2/3 innings Stripling was, 2 earned runs, so he kept them in that game. It was a close one, low-scoring game, and the A's won in an extra innings, 3-2 the final score. They were a pretty sizable underdog in that game, and now I think Stripling gets his first W of the season in his win-loss column, as I think he pitches pretty well against a Pirates team that's really struggling offensively against right-handed pitching these days. I mean, we saw Joe Boyle pitch, almost, I wouldn't say a gem, but it was 5 innings of one-run ball, and he had some issues with the control early, but he was able to coast through 5 innings. And Quinn Priester looked strong on the mound last time out for the Pittsburgh, but if his offense isn't backing him up, and if this is a close game late, a low-scoring game late, I think that the A's have the big advantage in the bullpen. At least right now they do. So I'm going to go with the Oakland A's. They're playing pretty good baseball. I'm going to take them on the money line. Next up, we see the Atlanta Braves taking on the Seattle Mariners. Chris Sale and Emerson Hancock are your starters. To me, this is a pretty lopsided pitching matchup. We backed the Mariners with Hancock on the mound in his last game against Arizona, and the final line, I think, was a little bit deceiving. It was 6 innings of one-run ball, only 2 base hits, but he only had 4 strikeouts. He gave up a home run. He had a couple of walks. The control was off a little bit. He was getting behind in the count, quite often in that game, and he was giving up some sharp contact. His defense, kind of helped him out. I worry about him here against the Atlanta Braves. That was the Arizona Diamondbacks, who are one of the worst lineups in baseball against righties this year. Now you're facing the Atlanta Braves, who can go yard from top to bottom of this lineup. Yes, they've struck out a lot more recently than they did at the beginning of the season, but I think Hancock could be in trouble in this game, even at a pitcher-friendly ballpark like T-Mobile. And Chris Sale, coming off one of his best starts in recent years against the Guardians, 7 innings, 1 run, 6 strikeouts. He pitched deep in the ballgame. That's 3 straight games now for Chris Sale, going 7 or more innings. We're not used to seeing that from somebody that's had some injury issues, in the last 5 years or so. So, pretty promising stuff for Chris Sale and the Braves. I like their chances to win this game in blowout fashion. I'm going to go Atlanta, lay the 1.5 runs. Next up, the Philadelphia Phillies taking on the Los Angeles Angels. Zach Wheeler and Patrick Sandoval are the starters. Another game where I think it's a lopsided pitching matchup. Sandoval struggling this year with an ERA above 6. His last game, 5 2/3, 3 earned runs, but 4 total runs, 9 base hits, and a home run given up. When he's missing outside the zone, we see a lot of walks pile up. We've seen 5, 3 walks. And when he's missing inside the zone, like we've seen recently, a couple of bombs to go with it. Not pitching deep into ball games. He hasn't gone more than 5 2/3 in his last 5 starts. The Phillies' numbers against lefties are improving. Zach Wheeler, we know he's one of the better pitchers in the National League. He's given his last 2 starts, 13 1/3 innings combined of shutout baseball with 16 strikeouts. Got to go with the Phillies here and lay the 1.5 runs. Next up, the Cincinnati Reds taking on the San Diego Padres. Graham Ashcraft and Joe Musgrove are your starters. Been a really disappointing season for Musgrove. We saw the struggles in spring training. We saw the struggles in the Korea series. We thought, eventually he's going to get back to form, and he pitched pretty well in certain spots, like the game against the Cardinals on April 3rd, but he has been very inconsistent this year. A lot of sharp contact, a lot of home runs. The last game, 4 home runs against the Philadelphia Phillies in only 3 2/3 innings, 7 earned runs to go with it. And the Reds, they are a very powerful lineup. They've got, mostly at Great American Ballpark, but still, you got good extra base hit numbers. Offensively, gets right into pitching. I think they get the Musgrove early. And Graham Ashcraft pitching away from Great American. He's got, solid numbers on the road this year. I mean, his last game, 6 1/3 innings, 1 run against the Rangers. His previous road start against the White Sox, 5 2/3 of 1 run ball. So he's pitching well away from home. I like his chances in this one to grab a W. Give me the Cincinnati Reds on the money line. Next up, we see the New York Yankees taking on the Baltimore Orioles. Luis Gil and Corbin Burns are your starters. Corbin Burns, we mentioned in spring training, the numbers weren't the sharpest, especially in strikeout stuff, was a little bit underwhelming. So far this year, right around a strikeout per inning, which is fine, but not necessarily the Corbin Burns that we're expecting. And you know what? He's given up a home run in each of his last 4 games. He's given up sharp contact in general, and he hasn't really faced the toughest strength of schedule. Now you're facing a New York Yankees lineup that's really improved and gets right into pitching, and they've got a lot of power, especially in the middle of the lineup. And I think they can get to him for a few runs. While Luis Gil's not my favorite option, he's not in the best form. I will say the big thing, the big issue with Gil's game has been his control. He gets behind in the count, he walks a lot of guys, but the Orioles are dead last in baseball right now in walk percentage against right into pitching. Now, some of that's because they put the ball in play very often and they hit the ball very hard, so they don't necessarily need to walk, but I still think Gil, if he can give the Yankees 5 decent innings, 5 innings, 3 runs, they'll have a good chance to win this game, and I like their chances to get to Corbin Burns. I'm going to go with the Yankees at a really good price in this one on the money line. Next up, the Colorado Rockies taking on the Miami Marlins, and we have our first Ruffalo of the season. There's no official starter for either team, so we're going to have to take a pass on this one. We'll have to see who these teams start in this game if they go with bullpen games. Neither of these bullpens have been very good, so maybe take a look at the over, but I'm going to take a pass here, take a Ruffalo in this one. Next up, we see the Chicago Cubs taking on the New York Mets. Shota Imanaga and Jose Butto are the projected starters. Imanaga really impressive last game against the Red Sox. The Red Sox have high strikeout numbers against lefties, but they're also a solid lineup, and it was at Fenway Park. Not a great place for lefties to pitch at, that's for sure. But Imanaga, 6 1/3 innings, 1 run. It was a mistake pitch, and I really wouldn't even call it a mistake pitch against Tyler O'Neill. It was a fastball on the outside corner that it was a great pitch, but an even better swing from Tyler O'Neill, and he hit the home run. But other than that, 7 strikeouts, 6 1/3 innings, only 1 walk. He's been, razor sharp for the Cubs this season. Now, the Mets do a great job of limiting strikeouts against lefties, and their BABIP is pretty low. I expect some positive regression for this team against lefties. So Imanaga, it's not going to be an easy matchup here either, but I think the Cubs lineup backs him up against Budo, who we're starting to see regress a little bit. I think the Cubs bullpen will be good enough in this game. I'm going to go with Chicago on the money line. I mean, Imanaga the Cubs have yet to lose a game that Imanaga has started this season, and he's personally 4-0, so it's really tough to go against that. Give me Chicago. Next up, we see the Boston Red Sox taking on the San Francisco Giants. No official starter for San Francisco, but we should see Cutter Crawford for the home team. Cutter Crawford, I think, bounces back after not a great outing against the Chicago Cubs. I mean, it wasn't a horrible outing either. 6 innings, 3 runs, 3 earned runs, so a quality start on paper, but 10 base hits given up. The Cubs really benefited from playing small ball in that game. A lot of singles. They were strong on the base pads, a lot of smart decisions on the base pads, and Crawford, struggled in that one. But still, he's pitched well at Fenway Park this season. He's pitched well overall this year. Got over a strikeout per inning. No home runs given up this season. I think he bounces back against a Giants lineup that's been, solid against righties recently, but I'm still thinking right around league average against righties at best. When you look at the bullpen for San Francisco, if this is a bullpen game for the Giants, hasn't been great this year. I mean, an ERA at 5.6. The expected numbers are quite a bit better, but still not as good as this Boston Red Sox team. So I'm going to go with the Red Sox on the money line at Fenway Park. Next up, we see the Washington Nationals taking on the Texas Rangers. Trevor Williams and Andrew Heaney are the starters. And we've talked about how the Nationals are much better against righties than lefties, and that their numbers against lefties start the year some of the worst in baseball. But here they are crushing lefties in that Marlins series. Trevor Rogers, they got to him for a few runs early, and now Nationals right around league average in terms of OPS and isolated power against southpaws. And Andrew Heaney has struggled mightily this year, 0-3 with that 6.26 ERA. Even worse, 9.31 ERA at home this year at Globe Life Field. And he's not in great form. He's given up 4 home runs his last 2 starts. Now, his strength of schedule is very, very tough. You look, the Rays, the Astros twice, the Braves, the Mariners, either playoff teams, teams above 500, teams with great numbers against lefties. He has faced them all, but still, the Nationals are improving against southpaws. Trevor Williams has kept the Nationals in most of their games. I mean, he's been one of the more profitable pitchers in baseball because we're usually catching the Nationals at really good plus money prices when he's on the mound. He's given them good innings. He hasn't given up a single home run this season. He's not a guy who's going to earn a ton of strikeouts, miss a lot of bats, but he keeps the ball on the ground. If he does that here, I think the Nationals have a good shot at winning this game outright. I'm going to go with the underdog here on the road in the Washington Nationals. Next up, it's the Houston Astros taking on the Cleveland Guardians. Tristan McKenzie and Justin Verlander are your starters. Now, on paper, this looks like a great pitching matchup between a future Hall of Famer and one of the young guns in the American League. But honestly, I worry about both of these starting pitchers in this matchup. Tristan McKenzie, he's got a 4.91 ERA and a 6.07 xFIP. He really labored through those 4 innings against the Red Sox in that last game on April 25th, in a game where the Guardians gave him a 5-0 lead early. He still gave up 2 earned runs, 2 walks, 6 base hits, and like I said, he labored through those 4 innings with the pitch count going up, and he's not really pitched deep into ball games at all this year. While on the other side, Justin Verlander, he struggled in the rehab starts in the minor leagues. His last game, only 4 1/3 innings. He had 4 walks given up. The Guardians do a really good job of working pitch counts. They don't get on base via the walk too often, but they limit strikeouts. And I think Verlander, who's got that 1.74 ERA, but a 4.46 expected ERA, I think both of these guys could be in trouble in this ballgame. We know the Astros bullpen has been one of the worst in the league. The Guardians bullpen's been good, but if you're expecting them to go into the ballgame in the 5th, 6th inning, it's going to be a tough game. I'm going to go with the over here in Cleveland-Houston. And the final game we're going to talk about for the Wednesday card in Major League Baseball, it's the Los Angeles Dodgers taking on the Arizona Diamondbacks. No official starter for the home team, but Yoshinobu Yamamoto should be going for Los Angeles. I got to go with the Dodgers here and lay the 1.5 runs. Yamamoto has been really impressive recently after a slow start to his Major League career. His last game, it was a shutout against the Nationals through 6 innings, 7 strikeouts. Really just a dominant outing for him. The strikeout numbers have been there now recently. 16 strikeouts his last 12 innings of work. The Diamondbacks have some of the worst numbers in baseball against right-handed pitching, and if they're relying on their bullpen a lot in this game, I don't love their chances as their bullpen's near the bottom of the league in terms of the expected numbers and the ERA. So I'm going to go with the Los Angeles Dodgers here and lay that run line. And that's it. Those are the games for Wednesday in baseball. Hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe and put those baseball picks in the comment section below. Again, if you're looking for my best bets, you can find those at Pick Dawgz Premium. As always, this is Romanelli. Good luck.